I am a passport bro, and even if you've heard the term, you probably still have a completely wrong idea who we are. So I wanted to clear up 5 misconceptions that people have about us. But before I tell you what we are not, let me tell you what we are. What we are usually good men who are educated, well-traveled, financially stable, and we are looking to get into relationships and maybe even marry someday and possibly have kids with traditional women. And in America and other Western countries, there are just none left. That model has been discontinued. Now, I know traditional women is a bit of a vague term, and as far as I'm concerned, we're just used to call them women. But essentially, a traditional woman is someone who believes and practices gender role concepts in her relationships. And even though a lot of men essentially just give up dating altogether, some of us decide to do something about it, which is get up and get the fuck out of America or whatever Western country we lived in and move to a country with traditional family values where we actually have a chance to meet, date, and marry traditional women. Okay, so now let me tell you about 5 misconceptions that you probably have about passport bros, and I'm gonna start with number 1, and it is the fact that we don't like to be called passport bros. What a horrible name. And on top of that, it's been hijacked by a bunch of losers who come to places like Thailand, rent pretty young women with tattoos all over them, and pretend like they're actually even remotely the same as us. They're not. Which brings me to number 2, which a lot of you think that we are type of guys who are just been such losers in our countries of origin that we just could not get any women, and therefore we had to go somewhere else where we could. So this is where a lot of people don't really understand the difference between couldn't and didn't want to. We certainly could, and a lot of us actually had quite good successful relationships with women who used to be traditional. But unfortunately, because we don't see any more benefits of dating modern women, then the only way for us to meet traditional women is where they are now, which happen to be in developing countries, because those countries have just still kept their traditional values. It really has nothing to do with income, and has nothing to do with the geographical location. It has everything to do with culture. Another thing, and this is number 3, what a lot of people think is that we want to come to these countries, marry these girls, and then bring them back to our country of origin. Now, you're confusing us with mail order brides, grooms, and this used to be a thing. A lot of American guys would go to Russia or Ukraine, marry a girl, bring her home. Horrible idea, because essentially the whole reason why you have to leave America or another Western country is because the culture has completely destroyed the traditional family values. So if you're going to find and marry a girl who is a traditional woman and bring her back, well, guess what's going to happen with her? I mean, you are yanking her out of her support system, which is her culture, her friends, her family, her language. So this is an absolutely horrible idea. We want nothing to do with it. A lot of us absolutely love it in places that we found. I love Thai culture. I love Thai people. I'm learning Thai. I don't want to go anywhere. I want to live here for the rest of my life. Whether or not I find a wife, it's almost irrelevant as far as whether or not I want to live anywhere else. Number 4, a lot of you guys think that there are a lot of us. You watch these TikTok and YouTube videos and you're like, oh my God, these men are leaving in drones and it's a thing. I gotta tell you, nothing could be further from the truth. I've lived here in Thailand for a year and a half. I'm very active, and so far I know only 2 other actual passport bros, and again, I fucking hate the term. Only other 2 men who left America to come here for a better, more traditional dating pool. So there are very few men who first even realized that there is a problem and what the problem is with dating modern women. And on top of that, are brave enough or able to actually move. And number 5, and I think I hate this one the most because it's probably the easiest way to hate us, but a lot of you think that we come to these countries and we prey on this poor women who have no other choice but to just marry us because we are going to give them money. First of all, you Americans and other people living in modern countries, I don't think you understand how little money sometimes means to these people as far as their happiness. I have never seen such a happy culture. As a matter of fact, every time I visit another country where people are not rich and not even, middle class in their majority, and they are the happiest the way they are. And I haven't seen more miserable bunch of people than rich Americans and rich Europeans. So a lot of these traditional women honestly don't care about our money. As a matter of fact, it's a risk for them to date a foreigner for many other reasons, and I don't want to expand on it right now because it's a whole different video. So our money do not go as far as you think it does, because it only works with American and Western women who are money hungry. But real traditional women are not money hungry at all. They're looking for something very, very different. And even though these countries are not the richest countries in the world, nevertheless, they pretty much almost never have homeless people or unhappy people, like there are tons and tons of them in America. So this is not really a situation where you can even prey on these women, even if you wanted to. But again, those women who are going for the foreigners' money and for their wallets, they're not unique to these countries. America sure has just as many of them, except for they just want more money. But those women, just by definition, are not traditional. They're not the women that we're looking for. So we never cross paths in the first place. As a matter of fact, sometimes I wish these traditional women would actually appreciate my money more than they actually do. And not for the sake of the actual money and what you can buy for them, but for the sake of how hard I had to work, how disciplined I had to be, how focused and dedicated I had to be. Because they're not into money, they unfortunately sometimes don't necessarily appreciate everything that we had to do to put ourselves in this type of a good financial situation. So if anything, the reality for us is almost the opposite. All right, so now hopefully you know a little bit more about who we are, and most importantly, who we are not. And if you are one of those Western men who want to move to another country so you have even a chance to be able to date and hopefully marry a traditional girl, well, go to themillionmenproject.com. I have outlined exactly what you need to do to take that journey and change your life.